I, I keep my at that time, and we're still in 2012. Um, Toward the middle of summer, we're now included our friends and our family and coworkers, and some of them started doing their own research. One of the things suggested was death in the home. This home was built in 2012. I mean 2005. We moved in 2012, so thought, well, we don't have to go too far back. It's a relatively brand new home, but no
Right.
death in the home, and nothing that stood out in the open about the land underneath the home. But yeah, we had friends and family and ourselves, because keep in mind, Google was our best friend. Google was, you look at Google, you have a question about your house, and you just type in the word ghost or ghost activity or how do you tell if your house is haunted, and various websites popped up. And some of the things they ask is, oh, do this, do that, go here, go there, and we did. I went down to the records office to try to pull up the house, the plans of the house, how the house was built, and pulled all that stuff. And then when the landlord told me that he had nothing to his knowledge, um, I went and found a previous tenant. But that took 2 years to do that. It took me almost 2.5 years to finally get in contact with a previous tenant who did live in the home 5 years before us, and they did have activity. Yeah.
Yeah, well, one thing I was going to say, when I was growing up over in West Seattle, boy, my parents bought their house new when I was born. That would have been 1952. That tells you how old I am. Believe it or not, in West Seattle, yeah, there were still kind of like shacks left, little mini farms and stuff like that left over, slowly, being bought out and houses built. But
Yeah.
the house or the property next to us, it was like a little miniature farm, maybe like an acre, and it was an old man there. And, he was getting old. He couldn't, take care of himself. And one day, my father saw something hanging from, they had a weird type of, little shed there. And I was probably about 5, 6 years old. And the guy hung himself there. And well, then, whatever relatives he had, they sold the property. They bulldozed it, built a brand new house. And then the people moved in, swore up and down, for all the years, from when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, all the way up to when I moved out in my like 18s, that their house was haunted. Things were moving. They heard strange noises, just a lot of weird things going on. And I surmise now, because I didn't know anything about the paranormal back then. Looking back at it now, the guy offed himself on the property, hung himself, and, he probably didn't go into the light, and his spirit was still there. What do you think, James?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You hit the nail on the head. He's still there. He's still in the land. It's like, you got to realize land's been there forever. And how long's the land people have been around Seattle? 150, 200 years? I don't know, something like that. So you're talking people could build on top of people and houses tore down or whatever. I'm curious, Keith, when you talked to the guy, the previous tenant, when you found him, and you said he did have activity? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I found the wife. The wife agreed to talk to me. And I got to tell the story of how I found her, because their mail was still coming to the house. And we would get, everybody when you move to a house, sometimes you get the previous owner's mail.
Right.
And one day we just did a Hail Mary and just went on Facebook and plugged this person's name. And I got her. I found her and I friended her. Then I introduced myself to her and I said, hey, my name is Keith-Linder. I'm living in a house in Bothell that you used to live in. Me and my girlfriend. We're having some weird activity. I was specific not to tell her what the activity was, because I wanted to get the truth from her. And I just bluntly asked her, was there anything weird happening in the house while you and your family lived in? And she said, yes. I mean, she gave it 3 eye winks through the chat box and said, yes, we did, but I'm not ready to talk about it. And I was like,
So
whoa.
She didn't say anything specific or anything you could compare to or anything like that?
No. Well, here's the catch. She said, but I'm not ready to talk about it. Let me confer with my husband, because we just got back together. You know, talking about her husband, and I'll get back in contact with you. She didn't get back in contact with me for about 2 months. I didn't drill her. I didn't say, "Hey, give me anything." I didn't want to spook her. She don't know me from Adam. I said,
Right.
"Okay." Her first answer alone was enough for me, and she was true to her word. She came back 2 months later, very apologetic, saying, "Hey, I'm sorry it took me so long, but me and my husband wrestled with the idea. He still thinks it's a bad idea of me telling you what went on in the house, but I feel I owe it to you." And she said, "Yeah, the house was a living hell." She said objects moved, uh, loud bangs, phantom footsteps. Her son, at the time being a very young, saw shadowy figures. He still sees them to this day. That threw me for a loop. And she said numerous times she was home, her nanny was home. They would wake up and come downstairs, and all the kitchen cabinet doors are wide open. Or you're sleeping in your bed at night, and you hear the kitchen cabinet doors shut. And she said one time specifically she was outside on the patio in the backyard smoking a cigarette, and she left some baby food on the stove boiling, and her baby in the high chair, and the sliding door slammed on her. It slammed and locked her out. And she had to throw a rock to get back into the house. But she said they lived about a year in the home, 2008, 2009. She described the house as a living hell, and she said the house ended their marriage.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I could see it. I mean, look at all the stress, a couple would have to go through, especially with a child and stuff like that. But what's scared too, just because you leave and move out and go to another property doesn't mean, well, I don't know how many entities could be there. From talking to you before going on the air, it sounds like there's more than one. But you know what? They can become attached to you. Am I right, James? And when you move out, one of them can come right with you.
Yeah, that's a very good possibility. Unless they're attached to the land, but yeah, they can definitely follow you or attach to you or an object, or yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and several chapters in the Bothell Hell House, I go in chronological order of the events happening in the house, and it's a snowball effect. But once things ratcheted up to the point of we're at DEFCON 2 or DEFCON 3, I started having activity in hotel rooms or sleeping on business trips.
You did?
One time I was, I did. One time I was in Spokane, and Tina and her girlfriend were at the house, and I had the sheets literally yanked off me in my hotel bed while I was sleeping.
Wow.
And the sheets were thrown across the room. I looked at my phone and saw that I had several missed calls from Tina, and when I finally got a hold of her, she said there was so much banging that night, with her and her girlfriend only being in the house. Several doors were slammed, and they ran them out the house. They just got the heck out of Dodge because it was so active with just them two being there. And that was the same night that I had sheets yanked off of me. But so yeah, I mean the aspect of I guess it's an attachment or being followed or what being clinged to. And you're right. We found multiple evidence suggesting at least 11 different spirits in the home that we know if we were to just go by the evidence obtained.
So how'd you come by that there's 11 different ones? How'd you come to that surmise? Just curious.
So some of the EVPs that the paranormal teams got were both male and female voices. Some older, some younger. Other EVPs came back with Irish accents. Other EVPs came back with a female, very angelic female voice. Others came back with male voice, stronger male voice, and
I'm sorry. Was they China? Were they these EVPs? Were they intelligent EVPs, or were you think they were residual? In other words, were they communicating, or was it just kind of like somebody?
They were very. They were very. Yeah, they would respond to Q&A direct questions of you know, generic question, why are you here? What's your name?
Yeah.
I can tell you now the majority of the EVPs that the UK team, Steve and Don, captured, the majority of the EVPs would always contain two or more voices in it, and you can hear the spirits conversating amongst themselves about what it is either I'm doing or what it is Steve and Dawn are doing. A lot of the EVPs they found, because they put listening devices throughout the home, and we'll review those later. And like I'm having a conversation with you right now, and I go back and review it, and underneath you and me's conversation is the spirits talking about you and me. And they got a lot of those.
Interesting. Has anybody ever suggested or said anything that maybe you may have a portal in your house? Anybody ever say anything like that, or a reason why there, like maybe one of the reasons why you have so much activity or different spirits or something?
Well, it's in their final analysis of the report that the guys done, and me living there, I tend to agree. There was enough evidence obtained to support poltergeist activity based on the violence being manifested. There was evidence of residual activity during the summer of 2015. You can almost set your clock to it and hear a woman and daughter screaming at each other in the hallway.
Oh, wow.
Also, you really could, especially that summer between July and August. And they caught that. And then also the apparition, there was two apparitions, a gray lady and a white lady. The gray lady was very interactive. She interacted with me. She turned off my light in my room. I saw her as plain as day, and she took off running. The white lady, which looked the same as the gray lady, except now she's white, was very monotone and was walking from one side of the hallway to the other and disappeared in the room. She never made eye contact. If you saw her, it looked like you was watching a movie. It was just watching her in motion, no interaction with the environment like the gray lady. And then also the shadow figures that the kid reported seeing. I saw those numerous times, upstairs, downstairs.
Where did you see the shadow people or figures at in your house? Was it all over the house, or was it just one area of the house where they would appear?
We determined that the hallway, which is the gateway to every room upstairs, was the most active room in the home. That's where the shadow figures were seen the majority of the time, as well as some of the most dangerous outbreaks. I'm talking about objects being thrown, large objects like a 300-pound armoire. 2 Bibles caught fire in the hallway.
Bibles caught on fire?
Yeah, 2 Bibles caught fire. 3 total, 2 caught fire in the hallway.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever had a medium come in there and walk through the house and and say what they thought?
Don Phillips is a researcher / medium. About 4 different mediums from different teams came in, 1 independent, and their assumption was either similar or identical. Of number 1, there's multiple spirits here. Not all of them are quote unquote evil, but the ones that are running the show. And they said, going back to that portal you mentioned, they said something was once opened, and nobody knows how or why or when, but this house now in its present condition is just a grand central station for activity.
Now, are you still living in that house?
No, I moved out May of 2016. 4 years was enough. Yeah.
And what did your landlord say when you told him you were going to move out? I mean, did he ever come and witness any of this stuff himself? I mean, to be honest with you, I got a funny feeling he had to know that something was going on in that house.
Gary, I think the landlord knew the house was nefarious because, and I tell you my reasons why. Because We lived